Okay, my name is Juergen Lumera. I'm from an area in Bosch which most of you maybe don't even know that it's existing. We produce technical documentation since years. And out of this, we recognized pretty early that to deliver information more efficiently, we need to change something. You cannot deliver it with text or with graphics when a car gets more and more complex and the education level is not equal all over the world. We very early decided that AR is one of those technologies which really can help to equalize knowledge. So helping to keep up with the permanently increasing complexity of vehicles, of products used in a workshop, in a production line, used during sales, etc. That's why we said we would like to establish solutions and an environment where you can create such augmentations very easily, very fast, and deliver it to service, to production, to safety-related information, to quality, etc. I have, different than my colleagues, not brought a video or presentation, and the reason is I would like to invite you to our booth. There is a vehicle. You can see how augmentation will help improving the service technician, improving how somebody sees information for a vehicle. So you really feel how this will improve the service, the production, the usage of a car for the automotive industry.
Great, thank you, Juergen. Felipe?
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Felipe Sequerra. I'm from innovation.rocks. I'm the CTO of the innovation.rocks. And what we do in innovation.rocks, basically we are a consulting marketing company. We focus in augmented reality. We also do VR, virtual reality. And we try to cover the whole experience of the user, from starting of the training of the staff, so using augmented reality as a tool for training of the staff, for sales purpose, so they can use the technology to really show the client what it could be done with the products, and the final stage for learning for the users or even for maintenance. So the idea is to cover the whole area in this aspect. I actually have some video that may I get the... Yeah.
Do you need that?
Yeah, I think mine is...
Can we queue up the video for Innovation.rocks, folks?
And you will have a better idea of what exactly we do.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I said, so we try to cover like training of the staff. For example, this is one example of our main clients, and they can learn how to use or how to change some of the parts of the cars. Educational for both sides, for internal staff and also for the user to understand better the product. Sales purpose, that you can imagine. I think you've seen it, many of them, and finally for teaching for the final user to understand better their product, like we are seeing here, like trying to replace the user manual that we know, just using the technology as one of those tools. So, okay.
Excellent. And Eric from SOftkinetic, tell us a little bit about how you fit into this space.
Right, so hello everybody. So I'm Eric from SOftkinetic. I've got a short presentation. Maybe if you can launch the first slide. Okay, thank you very much. So SOftkinetic, so we've been acquired by Sony end of last year. Just quickly, what we are developing at SOftkinetic, it's what we call a depth sensing solution. So it's really from the hardware to the software, everything that you need to have a machine, and in that case a car, being able to see in 3D. So we are doing sensor, it's called time-of-flight sensor, we're doing cameras, but we're also doing human tracking software for hands, but also for the entire body tracking. So we're really interested in the user experience of the driver and the passenger in a car, and how augmented reality is going to change that experience. So we have a first product on the market which enables the driver to interact with its infotainment system with natural gesture. So the driver doesn't need to look at the screen and the buttons anymore. It can focus on the road and interact very naturally with its music system, phone call, GPS, etc. And that's really the first step towards a real AR experience. So we are going to expand that first experience to what we call in-cabin awareness. So the car will have a full understanding of what's happening in the car, what the driver is doing, what the passengers are doing. And again, that's very important to enable all those persons to interact naturally with the car features in the future. And then next step will be to have outdoor awareness. So the car will need to understand what's happening around it. So we are, of course, not the only one developing such solutions, but our technology can really improve some aspects of that. And then all that together will really enable the fully autonomous drive that we all expect to happen in the next 5 to 10 to 15 years, depending on who's doing the prediction. But the point is that it's very important because when those cars will be there, you will have plenty of time in your car to do something else than driving. And so you'll have to be able to interact naturally, and you'll need to have different user feedback. And AR is really the perfect feedback for activities in a car. Of course, a very important aspect is also the connected infrastructure. I mean, towns, cities, highways will also have to be able to deal with those autonomous drive. So our technology is really first step, being able to track hands, to enable the car to understand what the user is doing in the car. And we are prototyping real AR user interface in a car, with which you will be able to interact with naturally with your hands. Today we are using VR technologies to simulate all that, because there is not yet a real good AR technology available. HoloLens is obviously a very good step, but still very much limited to put in the car. So we are really looking forward to have all those pieces of technologies together to enable a real AR experience.
Excellent. Okay, so let's jump into a conversation. Let's actually work backwards because we ended with the driver experience. So we're going to talk a little bit about the driver experience, move over to sales and marketing, and then finalize our conversation around service and on the technician side. So Eric, well, let's just start back with you because what you're showing is a completely new way to interact with the car, with gesture, with a heads-up display. But what are some of the challenges in working with an automotive manufacturer, especially with their notorious long development cycles? Right. How are you going to be able to implement this in time to still be relevant to the market when it launches?
Well, what was really surprising for us is that actually the development cycle was not that long, even compared to a consumer electronics market. We really took from first prototype to product release, it was 3 years. So it's really short, actually. So that's the first one. I think the other important aspect is that while it's not safety critical, development cycle are short. When it comes into the safety critical part, then development cycle will obviously be much longer. And as you mentioned, the quality level and all those security aspects are really, really important. A car is even more dangerous than a plane in some ways because a car can be used by anyone, right? You need a driver license, but it's not that high qualification compared to planes where you need a lot of qualification. So all that to say that safety is a very big point. And AR is really going to improve that aspect, help the driver, help the passenger to be more focused on what's important. And obviously the autonomous car will also help in that manner.
But on that, I'm curious, the safety regulators, how are they viewing augmented reality? Do they subscribe to that view that augmented reality makes things safer, or are they dubious on the fact that as I look through my windshield now, I'm seeing 15 new data points that are potentially causing my eye to move around in ways that it didn't before?
So I think AR is really one piece of the autonomous car, which is coming. And the autonomous car discussion is very broad, very complex. But I think there is a common consensus that statistically, the autonomous car will be safer than the actual cars. And obviously, AR will help to get that safety level because it's going to give you more information. Obviously, the design is very important, and that will take time, a lot of iteration to get there. But at the end, AR will really contribute to safety.
But that design aspect is really important because augmented reality, whether it's the heads-up display or the natural user interface, is a brand new way to interact with the vehicle. So maybe I'll throw this up to the panel. What are some of the nuances that you're seeing that need to be thought of with augmented reality in a vehicle that's different than, say, the touchscreen or knobs and buttons that we had before? What are some of the design challenges?
So maybe one little thing is that, as you've seen, BMW, they've implemented the first generation of gesture control with the actual screen, with a very limited number of gestures. And that's really a learning curve. It's very similar to what happened with the smartphone. You know, when Apple came out with the first real good interface, touch interface,
right?
You had to learn it for like maybe 1 hour. And
right,
then,
pinch and zoom was really new.
Yes.
Yes.
And
That
so
was their entire marketing campaign, pinch and zoom, pinch and zoom.
Yeah. So that's what's probably going to happen in cars as well.
Okay. And on your side, Juergen, what are some of the key aspects that you're honing in on to improve the overall experience for the driver within cars? Like, what are you guys thinking on Bosch side, or ideas that you've been throwing around that you would want to hone in on?
Since I'm not coming from that part of Bosch who is dealing with this type of technologies, I just express what is general knowledge. It's about to help the driver as a service technician to get a better overview of completely different systems than he may learned driving 20 years ago.
Right. Okay.
So I have now a lot of stuff in my dashboard to operate with right now. I need a help to do this, or I don't need the operation knobs anymore. I just focus and gaze on it, and then I trigger an action. So I think it's more AR will support the driver dealing with higher complexity of the vehicles itself, or of information coming to him from the outside. I mean, you ask him, is this not a distraction? If it's an autonomous car, it's not a distraction. Right. That's the way you right. Entertain him while he is not driving by himself.
But right now it's not an autonomous car, and yet we're still throwing AR at it. So Felipe, maybe you can talk a little bit about like maybe what your thoughts might be on ensuring that the information that's necessary is the only information that's being shown. Any ideas on say a heads-up display within a car? Have you guys been thinking about how to prioritize information, or how to ensure that that user interface is natural and beneficial rather than gimmicky?
Yeah, sure. Of course, you always try to use the same user interface that the people is used to in the screens, like flat screens, but you're jumping to a new area, a new environment. So it's not just a limitation of a screen, you have all your environment. So it will be a learning from both sides, from designers to try to use in some way the whole environment to explain everything, and also for the user it will be a learning phase, as we've seen with other devices. Okay,
so that's good, because I want to talk about education, because I think across the board, whether it's the technician or the salesperson or the driver, education is key. So talk to me a little bit about the techniques that you're using to ensure that your end user understands how to leverage these tools properly.
We are using the education purpose, but not only for the end user, also for the internal staff, because they have to learn how the new product is, and sometimes the new product is not there, so they can physically go to there. So for that we use VR, but also if they have some prototype, they can get all the features that maybe they are not implemented using AR. And going to the final user, besides the sales, of course, to present, okay, my car will be like this, I can configure it in this way, I know everything about the car without just reading a huge paperwork. The idea is also for the user, I think it was a good point from you, that they have to learn how to deal with this complexity of the cars, starting with, okay, I need to know what is in my environment of my car or my product, to I have some problem, there is a light there, I don't know what's that, I can recognize the AR explain me, go outside, go to the engine, you can scan the engine, it can explain you, okay, before you go to the customer service, maybe you can do it by yourself. Try to understand better your product to find the solution by yourself. So that's a little bit the idea for the whole educational.
Okay. Juergen, any thoughts on your side on how you're educating the technicians? And
not sure if we're educating him. And we did a lot of analysis with technicians to figure out what is the best way to use augmented reality in a workshop. In the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of demos which were totally useless because they address such trivial cases that the technician was not willing to use a technology like AR. I don't need to get an explanation how I exchange a wheel. If I'm not able to exchange a wheel as a technician, maybe I have the wrong job. So therefore, the main thing we did, we tried to figure out what could be the best help for a technician. And we provided this, and the best help for a technician, and I think it's any OEM, any type of workshop, wire harnesses in our case, because this is an example of hidden information behind the surface of a car. I have to remove panels, I have to remove things. And when I help a technician seeing these things, they take this. So I don't educate them, they desperately want to have this because it really helps them. So we turned it the other way around. Education, I give somebody who wants to need it. It's a killer application for AR in the service environment. Show me things. I normally had to remove panels. I worked maybe half an hour totally useless because I removed the wrong panel and I destroyed 5 clips.
Right.
And now I have something, I'm seeing this. And that's why I'm taking this. That's why I think I'm more productive than with any other technology.
Okay. And I think that's a good segue into building a business case to justify AR within the car, because obviously, you know, with you guys on stage, you're subscribed to the fact that AR is life-changing, but when it comes down to it, if it's not going to, you know, save rework or save lives or add to the bottom line in some way, it's going to be difficult to get buy-in to the stakeholders. So how do you build that business case to justify AR as the solution at a time when AR is still quite new?
Well, I think we need to work with the enthusiasts for the moment, that's for sure. Again, I'm always coming back to autonomous cars because we all make the bet that it's going to be the future. And when you think about it, and as you said, the automotive industry is taking time to evolve, we need to prepare today. And when the autonomous car will be there, AR needs to be ready as well. So we need to work on R&D level, on some service, on some product release, but it needs to start today to be ready in time for the autonomous car. There are still some big pieces of technology missing, like a real-through holographic display that will really help. Interacting on screens won't last forever, but so we need something new. And wearing glasses in a car, I'm not sure if it's going to really be accepted by everybody. So that piece of technology still needs to be developed. So there are still some challenges. But to come back to your initial question, we need R&D takes a lot of time, so we need to start doing business today. And it's really building the business case for the next 5 to 10 years, actually.
Okay. You guys over here?
Yeah, for us, I see more the challenge about the requirements of the final user and the technology. So you are always trying to reach like the maximum level, a top level, and try to use for the, maybe I'm jumping more about the limitations that we are facing with some of the devices. The user are expecting like high performance. And that sometimes is difficult to accomplish because of the limitations of the hardware that you were mentioning. So sometimes we have the technology there, and the users, because they get used to this evolution or revolution, like advancing so fast in the technology. That's the part that we have to step by step teach the people that some things are possible to do. Some things are there, but we are not able to share with everybody because everybody is expecting to take their phone and say, okay, I'm going there, I'm going to have everything.
Right.
I think that's a little bit the challenge that we have, besides When we are trying to track any object, any image, try to cover all the environments that even more in the cars, there's a lot of limitations within the car, different lightings, different dashboard displays. That makes it quite a big challenge.
And Juergen, on your side?
I would even actually answer in two areas, because I think if I apply augmented reality in my company, if I would treat myself being right now an OEM Lumera cars, I would like that I can increase my revenue and decrease my cost. Increase my revenue, my product needs to be the best ever sold for the user. They can easily operate it. Augmented reality helps with this. I want to sell more accessories. I superimpose accessories. I increase my sale. I make it easier to find my spare parts. I'm superimposing this. So I increase the sales. That's the business model the OEs are looking for. I would be too. And then decreasing the cost. I want to make my technician more efficient. He should not remove things or replace things which are expensive, especially when I'm in warranty. And later, the customer needs to be satisfied, because then he's coming back. So the business model is make the technician more efficient, that the warranty costs go down and the satisfaction of my customer goes up. And this is the business model who drives all of that. You need to put it in numbers. You need to do an analysis. They vary, but the potential for AR is huge to increase efficiency, huge. And I think also significant in increasing sales.
Okay. And just a short answer before I go to audience questions. Where are we at with AR in your specific buckets? So in the in-car user experience, the sales and marketing, and the technician, are we at the R&D stage? Are we at the pilot stage? Are we starting to roll out full implementations? Just give me a short answer so that the audience understands where we're at with AR.
So we're really at the beginning of AR, with the first implementation of gesture interaction, but the real AR experience in a car is not there yet. But I mean, everybody wants to go there, so it's really a long process. But
okay.
Real first step today.
And what about on the sales and marketing side?
For us, well, it's happening right now. It's something that we are using. It's in the market. And for the future, we are focusing to try to make it as a daily use technology for the users, for the day by day to, as I say, for sales or even for learning about the product that they just got.
Okay. And Juergen, on the technician side?
It's happening. It will be rolled out within the next year, 2 years, I think, to the majority of the OEs. But it's happening already right now, similar to what my colleague said here. They are seeing that Pokemon shows augmented reality day in, day out. Now everybody says, hey, why cannot have this for others?
Right.
And that's the reason why it's really driving. It sounds silly that a Pokemon game is driving us, but I think it's the best thing which could happen to us, us, the AR community.
Pokemon is going to drive the connected autonomous vehicle. Okay, so let's get some questions from you guys. It's about time. There are 2 mics, or at least 1 mic out there. Was there not a mic? Yes, there are. On either side. You must be itching to ask some questions to these folks that have been working in AR and automotive. Now's your chance to ask some questions. We have about 4 minutes on the clock. I don't see anybody jumping up. There we go.
So many of the applications and user interfaces are very much like GUIs still. Is there a paradigm shift coming in our interactions and natural gestures with AR environments once we get beyond the Pokemon Go? My name is Christopher Stapleton from Semiosis.
Well, I think the trick is really to go from a flat screen to a real stereoscopic display. And when I mean stereoscopic, I mean like the experience you have with the VR headsets or AR glasses like HoloLens. That will really enable or unlock the natural interaction in space. Because interacting with the gesture on a flat screen is very complex because you don't really understand where you are pointing at. Feedback is not good. With AR and VR, you really understand what you are touching, what you are dragging, what you are taking, etc., where you are interacting in space. So the real paradigm shift will come when those stereoscopic display will be really mass market. So VR is a very good start, but obviously in a car, it's going to be difficult to wear goggles.
But it'd be interesting to know, even if we have all those technological ingredients, if we as 3D creatures are able to interact with digital 3D objects. I think there's still going to be a learning curve, because even though we think it's natural, it hasn't been natural for decades because we've been working with screens. We have to unlearn so much stuff, right?
Well, actually, it's actually very, very natural. With all the tests that we've been doing, with the technology we have today, natural hand interaction in VR, I can tell you everybody, not a single person was not able to interact in 3D. Because, as you said, we're 3D beings. We can interact with real objects. The only missing big feedback is haptic feedback.
Right.
And that's also coming. Haptic feedback in the air will happen someday. Yeah. But so it's very, very natural, much more natural than interacting with the screen, actually.
Another question we can tee up? There's a mic over here. Is there? Yep. Or if you can yell loudly. Thank you. Sorry to make you walk. Oh, no.
So if you can say what is one idea of something really cool and exciting that is really at the bleeding edge in what you work in, that'd be cool.
Good question.
Edge meaning something really new and fresh that you haven't spoken about yet.
Why would we do this now?
I think it's a good question, because we try to find the balance between what we are developing and we cannot talk about that, and the things that we are really doing and we can talk. But I think for us, the next step is more to talking about cars, instead of going from outside and always having outside the point of view and everything that we can change from that, so go really inside. Right. And that's a big challenge, and we are working on that. We have advanced technology that we are trying to use that, and also all those closed environments, or those ones that the lighting are like a main issue. So that's something that we are working, so try to improve the experience of the user in that area.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting as you guys are solving for the current car today, which is someone still at the wheel and having tools that really looks to the user to do a lot of the manual work with the car. But the technology is building a foundation for when the user is not as active of a participant with this vehicle. So I think there's some interesting dichotomy going on with the technology and the user experiences that will come underway eventually in the future. But we are out of time, unfortunately, so big round of applause for our panelists here. Thank you very much for joining me. If you guys want to head on up, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much.